Okay, thank you everybody for coming. Let's get started. Okay, let's go around and mention who's here. Okay, this is Kate. John Weddleton, Chair of the Community Economic Development Committee.
Forrest Dunbar, not on this committee.
Francis McLaughlin, current planning division.
Rick Usher, Public.
Chris Usher, Public.
Mark Olioti, Kansas.
Dave Wyrick, Native Gardens. Mark Wyrick,
Ryan Yell, current planning.
Paul Hampshire, Anchorage Water Wastewater Utility.
Jim Hindenburger, AK Greenlight.
Jan Alexine, representative for the
Ryan Coyle, AK Greenlight. Phil Steyer, GH Electric.
Jason West, Babylon Company.
Matt Jones, Babylon Company.
Angie Honest, Municipal Clerk's Office. Amanda Moser, Clerk's Office. Eric McConnell, Office of Economic and Community Development.
Okay, thanks for coming. So, are you, who is Dana Stewart? There's someone back there too. You want to go ahead and sit up at the table?
I'll just go over and see you guys.
Okay. So we got the agenda, just 3 items on it. Anybody have anything change? Okay, we'll stick with it as it is. Dana started. Francis, you want to introduce it?
Yeah, sure. So Dane Wyrick, are you the owner of the building as well?
Yeah, Mark, no, we have a lease on the building.
Thank you. So there's a 2-story building. I think it's about a 25,000 square foot lot. I think a 17,000 square foot building. It's in a heavy industrial area, zone I2, in South Anchorage, sort of in the neighborhood of Midnight Sun Brewery back there on Cinnabar Loop. And it was formerly, I think, security.
Action Security
Action
and
Security.
Axiom are retired.
Thanks. And so there's sort of 3 properties that are all kind of fenced in together, 3 lots, and there are 2 buildings. So this is an industrial area, and the application before you is, I think it's a 10,000 square foot cultivation facility. That's the request here. I think in the future there'll be forthcoming applications for a manufacturing facility and a retail sales establishment, but all that's before you now is the cultivation facility. And I believe that it's not going to start out immediately as 10,000 square foot of cultivation facility. I think that they're going to sort of start smaller and ramp up. But I think the applicant was sort of forced into a situation now where he could ask for a smaller area within the building for his cultivation, and then apply for a modification later to expand that, or sort of ask for it all up front now and be approved. And as his business grew, he would be approved for that area. In terms of the zoning code, he has a little bit of work to do in terms of the change use permit and verifying the parking requirements and the landscaping requirements, the snow storage, and the Title 21 related items are met. And so I talked with him about, we have some work to do to come into compliance with the Title 21 regulations, and whether or not he's eligible for any non-conforming rights for the lack of some of those items. Be happy to answer any questions. I guess, I'm still sort of, because this is still new, I'm just trying to learn the process and what would be the best thing to do to be transparent and share information with the applicant. So I want to say that, what I'm accustomed to is the assembly resolution, the whole packet for his application is released on the Assembly's webpage on the Thursday evening before the Tuesday Assembly meeting. And but we're handing it out now. And so the applicant, Dane Wyrick, I handed it to him for the first time, a couple minutes ago. So he hasn't read this, the staff report, essentially. We haven't, we've been communicating, but we don't have it all sort of, I just wanted to tell you that he's seeing these things for the first time.
Mr. Dunbar?
Is that going to be the typical practice, or just the way the applications work out, the timing of the committees? Is it going to be the case that our applicants are going to get this material right before the committee starts, typically?
Well, I don't think that would be a good practice. I probably would, and I haven't talked to Erica about this, but I'd probably ask for her advice on what she thinks would be, what we should be doing, or maybe I should already know it.
Well, so when we submit something in through PACE, it goes through an approval process, and the final approval on the administration side is the municipal manager's office, which happens, it would have happened last Friday. So I think that there's the opportunity to provide, once there have been no change, or any changes that have been made have been accepted.
Yeah.
There's the opportunity to get the full packet to the applicant several days ahead of the meeting, because the thing that's happening between Monday and Thursday is just internal work in the clerk's office to arrange the agenda. So we might not know the AR number at that point, but at least there'd be the opportunity to provide the draft conditions or the proposed conditions.
Great, and yeah, we're still working through this process, and the only reason I ask is because, the understanding of sort of assigning these to this committee was that it wasn't going to slow down the total processing. And if it's the case that we couldn't get the packets until right the last minute, that's an issue, but if it's the case that we can do it a few days ahead of down track.
Looking at this, I see they didn't go to community council because it wasn't convenient, but they had a neighborhood meeting. How many people attended from the neighborhood?
Let's see, he's got a
I'm looking
explanation.
on page 1. They talk about not needing, they couldn't give us a man cap to get a community meeting scheduled.
Community meeting.
council. Since I attended the community council meeting in that, I'm at community council for the last 3 years.
Reading that cafe in front of me?
Yes. Disco Ray.
Yeah. It says, Davis Gardens received a mailer from Anchorage Department included property owners. The list is comprised of 90 individuals, to which approximately 9 individuals attended. All attendees were residents or property owners in our immediate proximity.
Well, they are starting to meet now, the school's back in session. So I anticipate they meet on the last Thursday of every month. So we'll have to make sure they kind of, this is just general cultivation, as we get towards manufacturing, as we get towards retail sales, that's gonna be, we wanna make sure that we but I've seen them turn $250 to community council. So I wanna make sure they know what's going on. I've been in the location, it's a good location for our cultivation. They've got good fencing system around it, so I don't see a problem with that. It's about, let's say, it's about a quarter of a mile from the Emerald Elementary School. So, and there's housing around it, but there's definitely an high area in there, and there's townhomes around it. So, from my perspective, it's probably a good place to grow.
So Dane's here, the applicant, and he's hearing, you're hearing that you should go to the community council meeting and for your future applications
Oh,
or,
definitely.
yeah.
Did you talk to Ray Metcalf?
I did, and I know Red Metcalf on a semi-personal level as well. And
They were on Disco Ray, huh?
They call him Disco Ray.
I just wanna make sure you're there, so we don't,
And furthermore, we've reached out to all of our neighbors, everybody in the area. We've had conversations with all of them, and, beyond the community council meeting. We're trying to be, transparent with everybody as we can, to get everybody's input involved in it, see what their concerns are, and try to, relax their concerns.
as you come up out of that area, you turn up like those residential homes up there.
Yeah, there's a bunch of duplexes.
Yeah, and they may have concerns, so as we get to move towards retail,
Right.
want to make sure we let them know what's going on in that area.
Most
a good place to be growing at.
Yeah, we have really good security. We're in a fenced compound with Axiom armored cars and Federal Depository. So we have armed guards on site 24/7. And we've spoken with them extensively. They're backing us 100%.
That's all good.
All right, you have a question for Francis. We've got an email from Mandy on Tuesday, and it lists 6 kind of the land use points that she made. So is this all of, like, it's 2 questions. One, is this everything you mentioned? And 2, if we knew this on Tuesday, it wasn't sent to the applicant.
Yeah, the applicant hasn't seen the staff reports, and, yeah, so they're finding out about these conditions of approval as I laid it in front of them, which is not the way I like to
Was it
handle
on
it.
Tuesday? Because we got the date.
So from my perspective, here's what happens. Typically, we put together this packet and we put it into this program that goes to the assembly, and it gets posted on the webpage for the applicant and for all the public to see a few days before the assembly meeting. What's different here is now we're having this committee meeting a few days before the assembly meeting, right, or the week before, and so I haven't adjusted to. I mean, I didn't. It was no question. I didn't know if I could release it. Just didn't know. I don't know what I didn't know what I could share in that, and I hope that doesn't. That's not. I want to be fair to the applicants, and I think maybe I just haven't covered all my bases in that respect. Okay.
Mr. Trady?
John, it's just a new system.
Right.
And as we get it down, it'll get a lot faster and a lot better, but I appreciate your work on this. Because nobody hits perfect run every time they're up, so thanks for what you've done.
Yeah, I don't have, the big problem is that for people, I know there's people here listening to see how it may go for your cases, and as you can see, we're kind of figuring this out as we're going. And that's why we have this committee, then we got another meeting in a couple hours to talk about it again. But, these meetings, we don't decide. We just, we can talk about things, maybe you may recommend approval with certain conditions, but the decisions are made at the assembly meeting. So a little bit it's a heads up on things that are coming your way, like in the assembly meeting. So in some cases, I think if we have is there a rule, having known that these were probably going to be in the staff report, to send it to the applicants a little earlier than the normal routine, is that legal?
I think that the clerk's office can work with Erica and the planning department once it's gone through, as Erica said earlier, the final approvals to then release that. So we offline can clerk's office, Erica, and planning department. And then because I anticipate Friday afternoon and Monday morning, those could be sent out once they've gone through the entire approvals, if they are available. It's just, clerk's office is still working on compiling the agenda. So as Erica mentioned, it might not have an AR number, but the document would be.
Mr. Chair, one other thing, there's really good communication between the clerk's office and planning, so I totally agree with what the clerk's office is saying now, but, this is really down in the weeds, but there's one other little complicating factor, which is, so 2 of the other cases that are on the agenda for review by the committee this morning, there isn't a staff packet yet. There isn't any staff report. The reports aren't due yet. So we're still in sort of preliminary stages of working through review of these cases. Does that make sense? Sure. So there isn't anything to release either to the applicant, or so that's just one other situation. So
Okay, it just didn't make it clear for me. Once I get an email on something, this is public record, right?
That is.
So
Yeah.
it's out there. If it's shared with them, it should be. We're all transparent.
it's just for the first time for me that it's being released before it's on the webpage, but apparently it's fine, and I just need to adjust.
And now as a committee or even as the assembly, if these things aren't resolved when it comes before us, we could make a recommendation to approve or disapprove. But if we say approve, given that these are resolved by the planning
that's the normal process that there would be for, in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission. It's typical to have conditions of approval to resolve Title 21 requirements. Oftentimes the site plan is not perfect and there'll be conditions of approval.
Well, I'm sorry, if you note section 4, it says the conditions contained in this resolution shall be met and shall be verified by inspection before the marijuana establishment can begin operations. So any applicant will need to fulfill their conditions, the municipality will then do a final inspection before actually issuing the physical permits and license, and this will allow them to begin operations.
And if I may, the documents come before the assembly, and the assembly has the ability to amend them to delete conditions or add additional conditions, and that something might come up in this meeting or in the work session that the assembly identifies that one of the conditions should be deleted or that a separate one should be added. It is one thing that the team that worked on the ordinances really wanted to allow the assembly to have maximum control.
Okay. Mr. Chair, may I follow up on two other things that I neglected to mention? The condition of approval that Erica put forward having to do with signs, that is not on this and should be added. So that's a.
That was my question going to John. I want to make sure we've added that sign one on here.
We need to add that. It was a timing thing and it's already in place, so we didn't do that. Okay.
On that sign issue, are we going to, I thought we resolved that it was going to go onto all of them. Is that right? Just haven't made it onto this?
I'm working on an ordinance
Okay.
to amend the code to say that.
Good. And while I don't feel as strongly as you that we actually need that on there, but
I want to maintain consistency.
that's exactly right. If we're going to do it to one person, we have to do it to
I don't want you-
everyone. I don't want us to ad
100%
hoc be treating these businesses different. So if we're going to do it, we should do it.
And I just went for other applicants, could you
Sure,
give the
so
short story?
the state regulations limit signs on marijuana retail businesses to being attached to the licensed premises. So they don't allow a pole sign to be put across the parking lot, right by the street. But that limitation is only on retail stores, and it doesn't address any of the other types of facilities. So we see there being somewhat of a loophole of intent that if you have a retail store and a co-located other type of facility, that you could then put a pole sign out and say, well, this is my cultivation facility sign, not my retail sign, and that really wasn't the intent behind the regulations. So the proposal is to make all, and we don't think it'll be a huge problem because I don't think many people want to actually advertise their cultivation facilities. But we are going to propose an amendment for the Assembly's consideration that will limit all signs to the same regulations that are on the retail stores, which would be having the sign attached to the licensed premises.
Eric, can you give me the language I'll need to add that into this document?
I will email that out again.
Mr. Chair, there are two other items that I think I need to bring before this committee. I'll just state both of them. One is that there's a little issue related to, there's some discussion in the report of Anchorage Water and Wastewater Utility and fines, or there's some sort of issue that I don't completely have worked out. But there's a condition of approval dealing with any unpaid taxes and that sort of thing. But there's that issue having to do with AWU and water service. And then there is a separate item about in the application, the applicant is mentioning on-site consumption, which we know is currently being prohibited, but the state is considering regulations to allow for that under, but that's not become law yet. So those are just two other items that I think we should might as well bring up.
John, if they do go to on-site consumption, then they're still got to do their air quality ordinance that we passed, because it affects both marijuana and tobacco. So just for those who are planning on, they're still going to be air quality requirements. Can it be done? Yes, but they've got to put a lot of money into making sure the air quality.
You guys following this okay?
Yes.
So the water utility issue, did you have a issue to speak on?
I did, so.
Could you, I forgot your name.
Paul Hatcher, Water Wastewater 2, thanks for having me here. Eric invited me. So according to the new Title 21 code regarding marijuana, it's a little more stringent than alcohol. It's not just taxes, it's fines or fees. At the time that Mr. Wyrick applied for the application, he was delinquent on a water bill. He has paid that since. So that's no longer an issue. He is behind on his sewer bill, 170.
That was actually paid in full and received yesterday.
It hadn't been as of this morning when so forgive me for that. This was printed this morning at 8:15, so if that's paid, then that's good. The only other thing is the settlement between the municipality of Anchorage and Mr. Wyrick. And I don't know if that really is towards fees per se, but that he would connect to water once water was provided to him. So that's an error we call more than mine. It's not really a fee and it's not really a fine, it's just a settlement that was an agreement between Abel and Mr. Wyrick and the municipality.
This building's not connected with?
No, his personal residence.
I would like to speak on that just to set the record straight. I purchased a piece of property in Anchorage about 17 years ago. On my title and on my blueprints, it shows that my property had city water and city sewer on 3 lots. I have 3 lots side by side that I had water and sewer on each one of those lots. For the next 12 years, AWU was sending me out notices of pay or we'll cut your water off, along with a $45 tag on my door for every time they put a tag on there. And we never had city water. We were on a well. And for 15, almost 17 years, we were charged every month for a water bill. We ended up in court over this, and the resolve of that was the city of Anchorage ended up spending close to $1 million to put a water pipe in my road to give me what they say was documented, approved, inspected by the city. They had inspection reports saying it was there. It wasn't there. The city got ripped off, and I felt like they were trying to pass the savings off to me. And it took me 15 or 17 years to get a resolve. The resolve is that once they put the water in, that I would then make plans to hook up my property to it. Those plans include engineering, a lot of cost to dig up my custom driveway and my property up to my house. We have not gotten around to that. They just got the water done maybe 2 months ago. So, and the remaining sewer bill that he was speaking of was paid. We went in because of this notice to the city, and we paid the bill off in full. And then when we had the city drop their objection to it, they signed off and said, we are not objecting to it, this has been paid in full, but wrote a little remark on there that said, well, there's still an outstanding $164 bill. To which we wondered why we were in the city a week before to pay the bill off in full, and this was never brought up to us. And furthermore, the city signed off saying it was. Still to this time, the city, according to the settlement, was supposed to put in 3 water taps and 3 sewer taps to my property. They put in 2 water taps and no sewer taps, so I have 1 sewer tap on 3 lots and 2 water taps for each of my 2 lots. The third lot doesn't have sewer or water still to this day. So I pay my bills. We were trying to play fair, but I was being charged by the city for a service that I didn't have. And furthermore, I paid $4,200 assessments on each one of my lots to have city water and city sewer. And the result was I ended up having to pay the bill anyway, even though the courts decided that we didn't have the water, we didn't know the bill, but that was part of the settlement. We had to pay the money to get the BW. So that has been paid in full. Finally, at this time, we don't feel that it was done fairly, but it was required for this license. So we did pay it in full.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Green.
John, since it'll probably come up in the future, let's ask TNS legal to look into it. Because I'd like to know, because if we're dealing with the business, I can understand that. But if we're dealing with other properties he owns, it's nothing to do with this case. I'd like legal to just give us some guidelines on it. Because he's the first one of many as we get into this. I don't care what they're doing on the business. I want them to take care of the business, but it's their own property. Are we really going to hold them up for a water and sewer
kind of a appeal process to those personal bills, because in this case, we had basically a court order that, that stated that when we hooked up our water, that we had to pay the bill. But because of the position that we were put in here, we had to pay the bill before we got the water.
We'll take that up at some other time. So I understand your point though. Sounds very frustrating. Is that, Mr. Hatcher, is this all kind of jive with your experience?
To a point, so White, the street he lives on is kind of an odd street over in southwest Anchorage. Whitehall's got an island in the middle of it. It's got an upper and a lower portion. The water line was in the lower portion with like a park strip that was dedicated at one particular point in time between two right-of-ways. So in a sense, he was fronted, but not really. It was to connect to him, we'd have to run services through this little park strip. I don't know if you guys even know what Whitehall Street is over there. It's kind of a weird street. But anyways, to minimize that, we then put an extra water line in up on the upper road to serve his parcel, plus all the other parcels, to get all those really long service extensions that were connected, you know, out of the right of way and out of that little park strip to make it necessary and things like that. As for the settlement, he was notified in December of last year that the second half of his down payment or payment was due. It was paid on August 1st. And then as for what legal gives you on what they are required to do for fees and things like that, that'd be up to them.
Okay, thank you.
Can I say two things? Okay, so one, the AWU settlement had these two different issues. It had some money owing, and then it had this connection between the property and the water line. And we did include the settlement in the packet, so you can look at it yourself. We did inquire with the municipal attorney whether the part of the settlement agreement that required certain actions that were not related to taxes, fees, and fines, whether that would qualify under the code that says, you know, you have to have taxes, fees, and fines due. And the municipal attorney said no, that would not qualify for that, but recommended that we alert the assembly to the issue, and the assembly could choose to address it as they see fit. Related to that, I think the idea of requiring that taxes, fees, and fines of the individual applicants be made good, and I'm not in any way trying to make this personally about any person in this room, but I think the idea was that the city wouldn't want people who are not being responsible citizens, you know, who are years behind on their taxes or whatever, to be getting entitlements to be in both this business or the alcohol business. So I do believe, and we will confirm with the attorney's office, but I do believe it applies to people personally, that if they owe personally any taxes, fees, or fines to the municipality, they have to make those good.
Eric would have liked to just get legal opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
Because this is gonna come up in the future, and I just want to have something that tells us when an applicant comes in, hey, you got this legal opinion, this is what you need to take care of. Because otherwise we'll chase this around for another 20 minutes to the next person. Sorry. Thank you.
Okay, I have actually a couple questions. And one is, you know, you're coming forward for a grow facility, but we're dealing just with that, but then you would expect to have manufacturing and retail at some point, and that all could be fine. But when I read that you linked everything together, because you say that you're gonna have 80% of your extract make edible products and 20% for retail. And I think I can overlook that, and I've talked to Francis about it, but I would say coming forward, focus just on your grow, and not link things that aren't approved. Because what happens to your business plan if for some reason you're not approved for retail, you're not approved for manufacturing? Then
I
don't shoot your
understand that.
business
It
plan.
started like this. We first activated our licensing with the state AMCO board for all of our licenses. And after talking with AMCO on there, they asked us if we would separate them out and only focus on the cultivation first, because they weren't dealing with retail or the production until they had the growers licenses taken care of. At that time, we had already submitted our business plan that had all that information in it. So now we started for the municipality and the state, just trying to separate the information out. And if we started extracting too much information out of our original business plan, then we felt it was going to be detrimental to the business plan itself. So with that said, we are still active
applications talk about wastewater and it takes special handling. And I don't know what black water is, but it said you're gonna, at one point, it says your black water will be disposed of through the wastewater systems, which I guess is down the sewer.
Correct.
And then later it said it will be disposed within the surrounding tree farm. Is there a tree farm in this area?
You know, our intent is to take, our system is a closed loop system. So we don't bring air in, we don't take air out, we clean the air that's in the room with scrubbers and with ACs and dehumidification systems. As far as our watering system is concerned, we use ROs, reverse osmosis systems. When the water comes into the building, we clean the water before it goes into our system. After it goes through our system, it gets flushed out. Each one of our modules of grows, they flush out into a holding tank. From that holding tank, it goes to another RO. And that RO is separated between gray water and black water. Gray water being water that's been used and purified. That water goes right back into our system for redundancy and recirculation system. The black water, depending on, at that time, we did not know what the complete written ordinance was. So if we were allowed to discharge that black water to the sewer, we would. If we were not, we had a contingency plan for water remediation, to which that water would be, that's black water, which was basically the fertilizers that are still in the water that we took out from the reverse osmosis system. Those would be treated in the same fashion as the hazmat material of the plant matter, waste matter, and mixed into a 50-50 dirt cycle and sent off to the tree farms.
Oh, I see.
Once it's turned into, my understanding is that once it's turned into a 50-50 mix with an inert media or a vital waste, then it's no longer considered hazardous material. At that point, it can be distributed to a tree farm or sold or done whatever you want with it. It's no longer a hazardous material. If the city is going to require us to treat that as a hazardous material, then that water would go into a containment tank and it would be hazmated on a needed basis, depending on where the containment tanks filled up.
So what is this hazmat process?
Normally, a hazmat process consists of hazardous material control to where it's put into an approved container. It's taken to the local waste facility and it has hazardous material fashion. It's delivered to them, reseeded, and then they take care of it within the hazardous material division of the city council.
And then they solid waste services?
Yes.
I have cross county, hazmat, solid waste, I have cross county.
Right, and just for the record, Mr. Steele's joined us. Okay, so, any other comments on this?
Eric asked me.
Oh, Erica?
I saw in the packet that there was a comment from the health department that didn't get addressed in any of the code conditions, and so I wanted to, I think there's probably some miscommunication in that these are kind of licensing issues, but they may not have gotten to the clerk's office because everybody's used to sending comments to the planning department, so we're kind of looking on that. But I wanted to raise them as one of the issues that ought to be added to the license. On page 2 of the screen. Well, the health department is requesting that the applicant keep written records of daily outdoor odor observations, and then also that a certain active, and again, I haven't had a chance to look up where this is coming from in the application, but there's an issue of potentially a pesticide that's not listed in our list of approved pesticides.
And they mentioned it there.
Apparently.
Do you, have they seen it?
Probably not, since they would have just gotten the packet this morning. Page 203, two page numbers at the very bottom right.
Page numbers.
There you go. Okay. Oops, sorry.
So this is, do you think this is generally most operations you think?
I mean, certainly, odor is one of the things that is most concerning to the public, and it was something that was, kind of one of the biggest issues from the assembly.
Yeah, but this is
but I didn't notice whether the department provided a similar comment on the previous, applications.
Did you get a chance to look at that? Is there
I've
any
just seen
comments
this
on it?
here. As far as for the odor remediation, as I explained, our system is a sealed, what is called a closed loop system. So the air that's contained within our, production facilities or our growing facilities, that air never escapes the building, never escapes the rooms that's going in. On top of that system, in our regular ventilation system for the rest of the building and offices, and what will be a retail store, there is carbon filters already attached to that building. We're having more carbon filters, putting a 5-ton carbon filter system for the AC exhaust into the main building itself. But for the most part, and of course, we will keep data records, all of our data records on all of the systems and the maintenance on them. But for the most part, there will never be any odor outside of our building. Everything is contained within the building and cleaned within inside the building.
Mr. Dunbar?
I had a question for you, Erica, about, so this is from the health department, right? And is it a recommendation, or is it part of the past this, is it become force of law upon them?
If it's not listed in the conditions in the AR, then it would not be.
This is their recommendation?
Yes.
Because, okay, so we don't, I mean, I guess my point is just, they're asking for daily odor measurements in the industrial area in your brewery.
And again, I don't remember how close residential is, but considering, the information that Mr. Wire has provided, it may be that the assembly says, oh, this isn't necessary.
And so if we, my point is, if we don't go out of our way to add this to these conditions,
Then this means nothing.
You know, I want to learn more. Is it possible, I mean, people with sensors on your staff? Is
You
that
know, I've never heard of a nose machine. Well, I understand that they do make machines that test particles in the air. And,
I think Eric could get you the name of the company that makes it.
It's the nasal ranger, but again, it requires a human being, it's not an automatic machine.
No, they do have the ability because people's noses vary. And that's the reason, we should try and have an objective standard.
So I thought we were going to go with, sorry, John, I thought we were gonna go with the idea that the health department, we put money in the budget for a full-time person to work the health department on these issues, right, or planning, perhaps it would Jack Frost. So the point is, I thought they were gonna go and test if there was an issue. We're not gonna ask every cultivation facility to buy a nasal ranger.
As I understand it,
No, correct.
zoning enforcement's going to go out there if there's something going on. We're not requiring every business to buy a diesel ranger. You're correct with that, Forrest.
Well, so I think somebody needs to talk to the health department to just make sure that this doesn't become a standard thing they put in every packet.
I don't think they're expecting anybody to purchase a nasal ranger. I think they just want people to go out and see, my assumption of what they're asking for is to have the applicant go out and see whether they can smell marijuana outside of the property on a regular basis.
Management must keep written records of daily outdoor odor observations. So, downwind location, distance from facility, time, odor intensity. So, they want somebody to go stand downwind of the facility every day and say, I don't smell it.
Smells okay to me.
It smells okay.
Okay, I think we should get more information on that. Okay, so,
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Ms. Moser just suggested that maybe we could get Ms. Griffith, to come to the 1 o'clock. Let's get one.
So we'll connect with her or someone from the health department and get more information on this to
Is
address.
the fertilizer issue pretty much?
I think that we can try and address both these issues this afternoon.
did you catch that? We have another meeting on you
Yes.
this afternoon, and we'll try to get someone from the health department and try to hash that out.
Just so you know, it's our every intent to comply with everything to make this business and this industry work. We're not looking to cut corners. We would rather be as a model state and make sure that everything is compliant. It's like I said, environment, I've said all along, like Francis, environment is our number one issue. If we have a sterile environment, a clean environment, we can assure our product is top quality, bug-free, pesticides-free. And we are not trying to advertise to our community all around that we're a pot house. That's not part of our game. Security is is a big factor there.
make a recommendation, we send or this way, or a recommendation they approve this way.
Okay, do you want to, with the conditions?
With the conditions on the
and the sign?
Yeah.
Sign, okay. And then we'll learn more about the health department. On this, okay, thanks. Any more on this? Good, thank you.
You want to take a vote on that recommendation?
Do we vote on that? Oh, okay.
We could, those who are on the committee.
Okay, anyone opposed? That's our recommendation. Tim, no? It's really true.
Just,
PPS
John,
are
Dick,
named the most.
Amy.
Work. Your training. Okay, so, we'll see you again in a couple hours. You're welcome to stay, of course. Can test, who's here for can test?
So we're finished here for this.
We're
Finished here until 11 o'clock.
City Hall.
Right down to once the kids go by, the kids in security guard, make a right, go down the hallway.
Is it 1?
Thank you very much, Jeff.
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
City Hall, different spot.
And I'll try to, one thing now, and I think probably on this post. I think most of this is just what we were submitted to.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Please go.
Who's here for can test?
Mark.
You're Mark, and then are you?
Yeah, I'm with that.
So you're by yourself? You handle it? Okay, who was this you?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to go through it.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Chair. So, Mark Malagodi.
Malagodi, right.
Yeah, we've communicated several times. He's the applicant for Can Test LLC. It's a company. He will be located within a two-story building in an industrial area of Ship Creek. And this is our first testing facility review. The staff's analysis of his application is not complete. That's why you only have his application before you. This is a testing facility. There's 2 other tenants in the building. I'm going off memory. I think one was a construction company.
The other one's a survey.
Surveying company, right. And so it's in an industrial area, Ship Creek. It's a testing facility. Mark's applications before you. In terms of the Title 21 zoning code requirements, it appears that they will be met with non-conforming characteristics of use. He will be required to follow up with building safety division regarding a change of use permit. That's the building permitting side of things as well. I can't think of any other items to bring up. Be happy to answer any questions, and Mark is here to answer questions about his business as well.
I guess if you don't mind, I'd like to ask sort of a general question. I expect this will probably come up at the work session or at the assembly meeting itself, but this is the first testing facility that we have looked at. And I was wondering if you just very briefly sort of describe to us how it works. So we just have sort of from your perspective, you know, the kind of workflow as product comes in and out.
Okay. There are 3 different types of materials in the test for. There's flour, and then there would be concentrate and edibles. If it's flour, we ask for 4 grams of flour to be delivered to our facility. It will either be delivered through Valkyrie Security, who we have a contract with. They go all the way from Kenai up to Fairbanks, and they pick up from anyone along the line there, and they'll deliver it directly to the testing facility. Or a cultivator or edible or concentrate maker can deliver it. It all has to be entered into metric, the inventory control system.
Actually, test flour. Is that flour like wheat or flour like?
No, the plant itself.
The plant.
So the raw plant, not an extract.
Not ground out of the powder thing. It's like a piece of plant.
Right, it would be a bud. It would be a full bud, 4 grams of the bud.
New technology, isn't it, John?
Or perhaps someday.
Right, so, yeah, 4 grams of bud, so it'd be delivered to our facility, it would be tracked in metric, so we receive it, we would weigh it to make sure it's the same weight as what they say that they're going to do. We have a reception area in front, where so a person comes in, drops it off in the front, we have a restricted area, back, so it would be logged, then it would be sent back to the restricted area, it would be tested, so we have potency testing, in which we look for 10 different cannabinoids. That's done in everything, the flour, the concentrate, and the edibles. We have solvents, residual solvent analysis, which is done on any concentrate that has used a solvent for extract. And then we have microbial testing, which is done on anything, flour, and anything that is not used to concentrate solvent and extract.
And is the product returned or destroyed at the end?
Destroyed.
Mixed with more oil, I see.
Yeah, that seems to be the best way that I can tell to do it now.
Great, thank you.
Any other comments? Mr. Training, Mr. Steele?
I guess the first thing that comes to mind is, are there standards? You're measuring, you're testing it. Are there standards for how potent it should be, or does anybody look at what they advertise versus what comes out of the testing lab? Are you looking for anomalies?
Well, as far as the maximum potency, there is a maximum potency for edibles that you can't have more than 5 milligrams per serving and 50 milligrams for something that's sold as a package. So that's, if it tests higher than that, then it gets rejected. There isn't any limit on potency for flour, but I believe they dropped it for concentrate. I know originally there was going to be a limit for concentrate, but I don't think there is there? There's no limit for concentrate. So the only thing that would actually fail for potency would be anything edible. What was your other question?
Well, I'm interested in who gets the report. What is done with the report? Is it used for them for advertising purposes, or is it used for enforcement kind of stuff?
Well, it gets entered into metric, so all of the, the 5 cannabinoids that are required to be tested for get entered into metric. We email a report to each person who drops off the sample, and that report will have the entire results. Whether they use it for advertising, I don't know.
Yeah, it's young men. So basically, that report is available to those.
It's only available to people who drop it off. We're not going to make it publicly available unless there's an ordinance that says it should be publicly available.
I just wonder if there is enforcement that's looking over to see what's happening.
But just to add, so the retailer would also get that information from metric when they transfer.
Well, my understanding is that they don't actually have to put it onto the retail package.
Yeah, they don't. It doesn't have to be labeled. It has to go onto the wholesale.
Right, the wholesale, but not onto the. And there's still. I know that there's one person, Jim Dyer, working in packaging, who's got a lot of requests that he's making. I don't know how that's all going to turn out, but right now that's my understanding is that it's only on the wholesale.
Okay. Mr. Training?
Employee number 1. I liked your, thing to say you're employee number 1.
Oh, on my badge, yes.
So you had a neighborhood meeting?
Yes.
How did people show that?
Well, we actually had 2. What we did is we presented at the Downtown Community Council. I believe that was in May. Unfortunately, at that time, I didn't realize that I had to send out mailers to everybody. So at that meeting, we had about 15 people that attended the Downtown Community Council. And then I found out that I had to post it. So Downtown wasn't meeting anymore until September, so I sent out a mailer. That would have been in early June, and then held a meeting at the Cantessa facility in late June. Nobody showed up for that
There's nothing specific in the marijuana regulations, so unless you add this provision that you've been adding to everything else, they would just be limited by whatever the regular sign code is in chapter 11 of Title 21.
But they're not allowed to have a co-located any other type of marijuana license.
So if we added that, basically the sign has to go on the wall, you can't do a separate.
That's what we were planning on anyway.
But I'd like to have something, Eric, that requires you to be on the building. I don't want to take a chance with full sign. Not that these guys would, but have to look at what may happen in the future. So if you work something out for me, I'd appreciate it.
That could be the same commission that we've been placing on the others.
Any other comments? I have a couple questions. One is in your packet, it says you have a 1-year lease, it ends in December. You working that out?
Yeah, we'll renew that lease.
Then it says one exterior door. There's not like a fire code or something? There's a fire.
Since that was written of the one exterior, originally the way that the building was there was one door that you entered into, and then there was an entrance into Serve Base, which is a surveying company that had a metal grating that you could slide back and forth, and then there was another one in 6th Street, which is the owner of the building. Since the one that goes into Serve Base was actually replaced by a fire door, because I wasn't able to determine from looking at the fire code whether we did or didn't need to have 2 exits. Because my understanding is 75 feet hallway, you only need 1 door. But then again, it was rather confusing if what materials were in there, so we thought it was safer to have 2 fire doors. So at this point, it's not an exterior door because it goes directly into Serve Base. So there is only one way for customers to enter, but there's 2 ways now to exit the facility.
And then you are mixing waste with used motor oil.
That was actually from the regulations.
It says to mix it with.
Well, it gives a number of options, one of them being motor oil, and I felt that was the most cost-effective way to make it unusable.
Is it better rock with your car?
Don't know about that.
Only Volkswagen bus. Yeah. Okay. So, Mr. Appling, did he left? Okay, what do I do? Drag him back in.
On to the next guy.
And then do them at the end.
Oh, okay. Okay, is that it for any comments on this from anyone?
It's done.
So, Mr. Trainee?
Yes, sir.
What would you like to do with this?
Recommend approval, send it to the subline.
With the sign?
With the sign and stipulation put on it.
Any objection? No objection. And you're,
Your very first testing facility, how'd that tell you?
Maybe you're getting away with something or you're being held. I stand.
But it's possible there may be conditions that the planning staff may find.
Or there's somebody in deliberation that come forward.
You understand that?
My understanding is you finished the review of the proposal, is that correct?
No.
Oh, you haven't, okay.
This is on the agenda for September, is that right?
Yeah.
September 13th.
Right.
So I guess if we can ask you, and then Francis, so, in one sense, we wanted to have these real early so it doesn't slow anyone's business down. It's very important. But then if we're ahead of their review, it doesn't help you as much. I mean, what you're saying, should we have waited and tried to do it once the packet's done? Or does this work okay?
The 2 testing facilities got scheduled early because there's 5 at the next assembly meeting. The clerk's office recognized that there might be challenges trying to work through 5 at the committee meeting. So we bumped ahead the testing facilities without the staff's review, but recognizing that because of the different license that it probably was okay to go with this name. So we did bump these ones ahead, just recognizing that trying to get through 5 licenses in one meeting might be
That's the
really
next meeting.
Yeah.
Reading it really fast.
The next meeting. So Danish Gardens is on Tuesday's meeting, and then
There's next meeting.
Well, you say the next meeting here, or the next
yeah,
meeting?
there'll be 3 licenses.
So we split it up, there
Oh,
will
'cause it
still
would
be
be
6 total with this meeting and the next meeting, so we decided it would be a little bit more evenly distributed
trying to, some big conditions could come up, but you may have to do a forced parking lot.
Mr. Chair, Mark, I'm the planner assigned to review your case, as you know, and we've had very good communication through email. The applicant's been very responsive to phone calls and emails, which is super helpful. So I can, as a planner, can commit to Mark that if I foresee any conditions of approval, that he will be the first person that I communicate with, so that he'll be aware of it, and we can work through any issues. But I don't ever want an applicant to be surprised by a condition of approval if I can help it. I try and be transparent in that way, and yeah. So your concern maybe about him knowing about stuff, I will work with the applicant on that issue.
All right, thank you. Okay, so moving on to the last one, which is Alaska Green Lab. So who's here for that? Okay, your name again?
Brian Coyle.
Okay, anyone else? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Are you?
Yeah. So, Francis McLaughlin. So, Alaska Green Labs. This is an application for another testing facility. This one is on Fairbanks Street between Fireweed and Northern Lights, sort of in the Sears Mall sort of area there. Let's see. They made a presentation before the Midtown Community Council, and there in the application there's a resolution recommending approval of the business of the testing license. 12 votes for and none against. There were 3 or 4, I think it's 4 letters from the public from the same person that owns multiple properties in opposition. They say strongly opposed to the granting of this license. So
Was it Don Young? Across the street from you there. Sorry.
No, that's fine. And so it's an existing building, an existing site, and it appears that this license will be able to meet the zoning code requirements, Title 21 requirements, with letter of non-conforming rights or characteristics of use. It appears that it'll meet the parking requirement, and they will screen the dumpster. I think the only things I can bring up is that it'll meet it appears that it'll meet the Title 21 code requirements, and that they went before the Midtown Community Council, had this resolution. I can't think of any other relevant issues. The applicant's here, Brian Coyle, if you have any questions for him.
The property owner
I can read to you what you'll see when you get your packets. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 letters that are identical from John Estabrook and Geraldine Estabrook, and it says, they all say, we own 1 residential building in the area of the proposed testing facility for Brian Coyle, DBA, doing business as Alaska Green Labs, LLC, and are strongly opposed to this facility being at this location. They don't say why they're opposed to the testing facility. I can't speculate.
Did they say where they live? I am familiar with the area. There's a lot of. They said there's like a trailer park near there. Is that?
It's a, if you don't mind me
Mobile home.
jumping in, it's a transit trailer park. It's located right across from the Sayers.
Right.
Who's there? It depends upon the time of the year. Trailers come in, trailers go. There's no permit. Camper park.
Is that what they own?
No, but that's what's near there. He was asking about trailer park. That's
There is
what's
a residence on top of one of the buildings, probably.
Yeah.
Next to it. In your building, maybe. Is that the building?
Yeah, I think so.
Right up at the top. I used to own 2507. Right next to that.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, Brian, how many stories is your building?
There's an apartment on the second floor part of it, so.
So,
No, it's not over mine.
This, your application has been assigned to Sean Odell to review. Sean is the planner that's reviewing this, it's not me.
Okay.
He's hunting, so he asked me to stand in on. Yeah, Sean's reviewing this case. He's the planner assigned to review this case. I've met Brian at the counter, he's come to the counter several times, but actually the review of this is being done by one of my coworkers who's not here today. If I have the liberty, could I just ask, I'm not expert in knowledge of your site. Can you tell me, so there's one building on this lot, and how many tenants are within this building?
There's three of us on the ground floor, and then this apartment.
So there's
Above
like
one of
3
them.
businesses on the first floor,
Yeah.
and then there's a residence on the second floor.
Yeah. So there's a cigar retail shop, there's my business, and there's a cigar club.
Okay. And the residence is on the second floor.
Yeah.
Is that accessed separately?
It's separately from mine?
Uh-huh.
Yes, yeah.
So
Completely
there's-
separate entrance.
And do they have an exterior stairs or?
I'm trying to think if there's one in the back. I've never been up there.
Yeah.
I've just seen the entrance. So I know there's an interior stairs. I could tell you.
So there's a separate door in the front of the building. The residents, they go in that door and it's a stairway up to the second floor. It has nothing to do with your business.
Right, completely separate.
Okay.
Well, it might be an issue reading here, prohibited with residential, a marijuana establishment shall not be allowed on a lot that contains a residential use other than a caretaker's residence.
Yeah, I don't have a good answer.
Okay, so Mike, was that building for 15 years? I don't remember, but so is yours the gray building, is that a different building? They're all sharing walls.
Well, you know Sioux City Energy? Okay, so from them over to the cigar shop is the property, and I'm in the middle of that, with 3 entrances. And it's got a gray false front on the top.
You have a residence up there.
Yeah, over the cigar shop.
Yeah, in that building, this says you can't do it.
You know, it's still.
I don't.
It's at one lot. There's a lot.
That's a pretty spot.
Well, so that's in our code, but I mean, so, anyway, we'll work through this, hopefully it doesn't apply to you, but I think the idea here, right, is to prevent them from, well, I wasn't there when you passed this code, you weren't there either. What was your intent, Dick? Were you trying to prevent this kind of business?
No.
Okay.
Trying to prevent an impact on
We need to take a look at
residential.
that and see,
Yeah.
is it really one lot?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hire that person as a caretaker.
Well, that person might be related to the cigar club, which is a smoking club underneath.
They're one of the few that meet the requirements to do a smoking club.
I'll certainly look into that, you know, as far as whether you can be a caretaker. First,
Yeah, let's make sure you actually have to.
So make sure that, yeah, and it says lot, so it's not just whatever, because those buildings all share walls.
Right,
I know,
right.
Lot line.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Chair, so to be clear, just to repeat what Mr. Dunbar said, one of the standards, one of the use-specific standards for all marijuana establishments, it says, number 4, prohibited with residential. Marijuana establishment shall not be allowed on a lot that contains a residential use other than a caretaker's residence. Now, the Assembly has already approved one situation where there is a caretaker's residence associated with a cultivation facility. That's the one in Bird, Alaska Rustic, yeah. So that does exist, and that is allowed. You know, as I said, Sean's reviewing the case, and he has not completed his review of it. This is the requirement. We'll have to sort of try and work through this issue.
Okay. Any other comments, Mr. Steele?
Yeah, just to let my lack of knowledge out. What are the hazardous materials or hazardous operations that take place when testing is
Use of solvents mainly for extracting.
papers
Yes, yeah. Well, and then
and
having
explosive activities?
well, I was gonna say flammable, not quite explosive.
Well, no smoking in the facility.
No.
And that's it? So there wouldn't be, so that would be similar to a fire code kind of thing, you'd have to have an inspection.
Oh, yeah, yeah, and we're gonna put in a few hood, we'll have flammable cabinet, pretty standard stuff like that.
Any other comments? I had a couple questions on, when you talk about waste disposal less than 220 pounds per month, you get a conditionally exempt small quantity generator permit. What is that?
It's, I'm trying to remember, I haven't looked at the code there recently. It's, available from the landfill where you can dispose of your hazardous waste or a solid stream, which will have the waste marijuana mixed with it. And we can, it's below a certain level, you don't have to pay large fees.
But it's solid waste services
Yeah.
policy.
Yeah, yeah.
Mr. Dunbar?
Just a comment, having talked to Francis about the negative comments that came in the email, or the email or their mail, but I think during our conversation, maybe there's a little bit of confusion that maybe they were the people that were living in that apartment or in that residence, and it doesn't appear that they live on Campbell Street. So,
Yeah, I don't think the residents, if there are residents there.
are the ones that wrote the letter.
Oh, so they're, different block altogether.
Probably we mail out to a 500-foot radius, and
Sure.
it's clear that it was the same couple, you know, maybe perhaps a married couple, right? And you can, we see the addresses where it was mailed to. 3 of the addresses were on Gamble Street, 1 was a PO box. But it doesn't appear that it's people that live the property. It doesn't appear that it's people next door on either side of the street.
I believe they're part owners of the office building to the east. It doesn't look like that residence is on your property.
It doesn't, right? That's what I was thinking. Yeah, it looks like it's upstairs. So we'll get rid of that. Do you want us to still look into that?
I would definitely be looking into that, but
Okay.
it's good.
Yeah. I'll confirm that for
You
you.
don't want to come up with
No.
Assembly meeting, I was looking at.
Right.
You know, one point I was gonna make about the sign conversation from last assembly and then to here, one of my more creative retailers said, oh, they're gonna make us attach the sign, I could just have a big sign attached to like a neon post, and I was like, you're not gonna do that at all, but maybe we could reword that, resolution so it's not attached, but maybe affixed to the building, because I think that attached can be a little bit, easy to get around. And you could have it attached some way by like a post or something like that, and actually fix the building. Like, just maybe a little bit, because I mean,
we have been modeling the state language, and it's a little frustrating because the state kind of says, here's our standard, and then they look to us to implement it, so we're not really sure what
right, but you
they
guys,
meant, but yeah, we can modify it.
yeah.
Again, let your clients know that we approve these every year.
I know,
so-
I told them, don't worry, that's not gonna happen, but I'm just saying, you know, with that attached language,
Yeah.
you know, I'm attached to this cable right now, and I'm not fixed to it, but, I don't know, just something to think about.
Did you look at the sign law? 'Cause that has a lot.
I didn't, no, I was just looking at from the resolution that came out, last assembly hearing, and then just,
But the sign law still applies to it,
Right.
so that covers it.
It's a valid.
And I think Class D beyond.
calculations, variations of electric.
Yes.
Okay.
yeah.
Any more more comments on
Oh,
this?
yeah, those are great.
So what do you recommend we do?
I wanna find out about the block residents, we should make a reservation this Sunday. Cause we've got that restriction, I wanna find out.
You know what, I can,
He's working, you said he's coming back from hunting and working on this. We still have a while for this comes in front of us.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Trainee, we have a computer and overhead projector. You guys all have smartphones. I can bring up Google Earth and look at whether or not we can do it right now. It would take some time for me to launch it on the computer, but look and see whether or not the entrance for the residents is actually on the same property. Otherwise, we could do it later this afternoon.
I would recommend that we revisit this afternoon, and that you have a little bit of time
Sure.
for our 1 o'clock meeting, and
Yeah.
we can maybe finish the conversation then, if we are able to get enough information by then. Would be my recommendation.
It seems to me that at this front end, if we need to recommend some differences between the state and us in terms of wording on it, that we ought to look into that. That's a valid point in terms of a tax versus a fixed or something.
I think Erica's working on fine tuning that, so that could be.
Good job,
The
Eric.
sign thing, or the, yeah.
So we got that, but thanks, that's a good one. So we'll send this forward at this point with no recommendation, but we're gonna get some more research. And I don't, we haven't really
I wanna
identified.
look on the one issue before we make a recommendation.
Back at 1.
Are these all on one, or was it only Danish Park?
It was only being charged because the work sessions were only supposed to be for the ones that were gonna be on the assembly meeting. However,
We'll have another work session before the next assembly meeting.
they would be on the work session prior to the assembly meeting of the 13th.
Does that work for you?
So now you have a little
So
bit
you
more
have a
time
lot
to do that
more time.
research.
And we do too.
Kind of a real drive by.
I got an email, I was planning to come to that meeting, but you're saying.
Plenty of room for you.
Well, let's see what I can find out,
Okay.
and, let's see if they have a good address.
Mr. Chair, both testing facilities were invited by the planning department, it sounds like.
Oh,
So this afternoon, so we should tell them now, either they should come prepared to present, or they can come as audience. I think you guys are scheduling a meeting. They're not gonna be on the agenda, that's right?
They're on the agenda for the next work.
For the 8th.
So they will be on the work session agenda.
Yeah,
Does that work?
It'll be one on
on the 8th
the 8th,
of
okay.
September.
Just
So
wanna be
they're
sure,
on
'cause
for the 13th.
I'm looking at the message I got on today, and this is Danish Gardens 1 to 1:30.
Correct.
So,
Does that work for you?
So when?
Personally, I'd rather try and address this sooner rather than later, see how, if it's gonna be an issue.
Well, what's the issue? If you go and actually, we looked at, this group, image that looked like it was not an issue. It looks like the building next to you has the residential. So if you can, at some point, they will verify it.
Uh-huh.
If you go and find
Yeah.
out it's in your building, then you have a problem.
Okay.
But, crap. Okay, but if you can verify very clearly and it doesn't indicate it's not on your building, then it's not an issue. So it is a pretty quick, simple, well, it's either very quick and simple or it's a real problem.
Or not, yeah, and, so I'll find that out for you.
Brad, you've done a good job, we just wanna know.
Well, you're welcome to come this afternoon and have you driven by it, yeah.
Sure, absolutely, yeah, I'll come back.
Okay,
Are you
so.
gonna be able to attend the one on the 8th? Okay, sorry about that, miscommunication.
And should we plan on being there on the 8th as well?
Just before we adjourn, so do you have any comments and you're kind of watching and learning and
No, I was just
suggestions?
trying to understand the process
Okay.
and, the types of concerns you guys have.
Do you understand better?
Well, as much as everyone does, right?
Okay.
That's kind of work in progress, but yeah, it's definitely informative.
You're good. And you've come and you're more enlightened now or more confused?
Oh, no.
We've kind of gone backwards the way we've done it. We've done the SCMP
hidden things that we haven't brought up yet.
Well, yeah, and the comments, that's one thing, when people comment, that I've been looking everywhere where we can find out if there's been comments, and I can't find anywhere where it's posted that we have some idea of some of the comments that are gonna be coming at us, so we're not so emotional when we're in front of everybody. So that was one of my questions is which I was gonna address, but, where do we find where people have made comments?
So there's generally two ways that people can make comments. They can either make it online through the portal, and I can send you information about where to find that. But if people do make it through the portal, you'll be able to read them. The other way, there's three ways. The second way is to return the public hearing notices that are mailed, and those get sent back to the clerk's office, and generally they're put into the packet, so they're not kind of put into a place where you'd be able to see them until the packet is finished. And then the third would just be emails sent to probably to the assembly, and the staff doesn't even really get those. And so it would be the assembly's prerogative to share those comments.
Just so we're not blindsided.
The packet before the assembly will have everything. We'll have the first two. It'll have anything that's been mailed back, and it'll have anything that's been posted online through the portal.
Okay, I think, did Mr. Trainee?
Because you've been with us since we started doing this process, and that has been it's an evolving process. Probably the other way to the state, the regulations, or the application to us. We're trying to process this fast as we can.
I wanted to put it out, we do have an open door policy with our company, so if anybody here wants to come down and see the building, come inside and talk to us, take a tour, we'll show you the plans, what we're doing.
Ron has been there a
Yeah,
couple
Ron's been down
times.
there several times.
He's our chair of the technical meeting council. He's been there a couple times, and neighbors have come over, and we're just happy to show them what we've done. We're kind of proud of it, actually, but
It's still an empty building,
we're
but.
supposed to be on the agenda for you guys on September 27th, if all goes well, September 7th with the, where you weren't at our community council meeting.
Where were you?
Yeah, where were you?
When was that?
Well, just before, we were on the agenda to speak for TICU, but unfortunately, it didn't fit within the time frame, and then you guys disbanded for the summer. So, but we kind of addressed everybody. You were there when we addressed and put letters out and
What
everything.
community
but-
council's working well? I was one meeting, we had 4 or 5 applicants coming in.
Yeah, oh yeah, because we go to them.
Test your panel, so it's working out well.
Yeah. But not one person showed up to ours, and we had cookies and
I was gonna say, not a lot.
We had a lot of cookies.
People thought I went to university and only showed up at me.
Okay, I just, we approved, who's the one who learned called Alaska Rustic?
Yeah.
He went out and talked to every single person in the community and got a petition signed. He went knocking on doors, looking for problems, and, had his own support, so, it was amazing that everybody put into it, so don't be bashful about that. Then you
Oh,
hand it
we're not
off and
bashful.
pass.
And we've got King Street Brewery right across the street, so I'm happy to go over and talk to them anytime.
Okay, is there anything else from anyone? Okay, good.
Thank you.